Who do you like to win outright in the NFL this week?
Well, like I've said before, I'm trying to adhere to the Survivor rules that are at Circa and all those other places. But, I'm going to pick the Broncos this week because they're playing the god-awful Panthers. Why not? Why not? I don't see any other place that I could possibly take the Broncos this season. So, yeah, Broncos beating the Panthers. Go Bo Nix, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like fading the Panthers every week, like it's not a terrible decision. So all you had to say was the Panthers are playing. I'm going to pick the team who's playing the Panthers. And I would agree with you. All right, Bill, you're up next. You've been leading the way for us as a team, 6-1 on the season. Who do you like this week?
Yeah, I'm going against one of my rules, and I'm picking a divisional game. I'm going to take C.J. Stroud and the Texans over the Colts this weekend. I just don't trust. If this were still Joe Flacco playing for the Colts, I might avoid this game altogether. I don't trust Anthony Richardson at all. The only sabotage factor for me is if Jonathan Taylor comes back from the ankle injury, he could make things interesting, but I just don't think the Colts are good enough to hang with Houston, especially at home. Give me the Texans over the Colts, and I'll cross my fingers on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I really like the Texans in this spot as well. At home, they are one of my teaser teams. You can get them in a teaser just on the money line because they're 6-point favorites. I do like that pick as well. Dylan, you are up next. Who do you like this week in Survivor?
Yeah, so I'm going Green Bay over Jags. This is kind of the easiest one on the board for me. I know we like to pick on the Panthers, but I was trying to avoid that 2 weeks in a row, like David said, trying to play by the traditional rules a little bit here. But the Packers, 3-0 in their last 3 weeks. Their last loss was to the Vikings, which is a 2-point loss. Everyone knows how good the Vikings are this year. Jags were just in London for 2 weeks, so they're traveling back to America. They got to adjust to the time, and it's a 1 o'clock game. I just don't like the Jags' chances in this at home.
Okay, I was distracted because you have a box of oatmeal squares in the back of your shot. Which, let me say something. Oatmeal squares, the cereal, is, I feel like, one of the most underrated cereals because it's good for you and it tastes good. So for me, an adult who likes to eat healthy when I can, I like oatmeal squares, but was this intentional? Like, is this a part of, like, your branding?
No, absolutely not. And no free advertisements here. So, keep that away now.
Good catch, Chelsea. I didn't even notice that. Good catch.
Oatmeal squares, you can sponsor me. I've already, sung your tune here on the show. So go ahead and send me a few free boxes if you want. Okay, so Jenks is not here. I don't see his pick here, so we'll have to ask him tomorrow. So for me, this is an easy one. For the second week in a row, I will be fading my own team, and it's very easy to do so when the Titans are in sell mode. So I'm going to go with the Lions this week. They're 11-point favorites. That was before the DeAndre Hopkins news even. I don't think it's going to make a difference when it comes to the Lions, but I do think the Lions are an easy winner here. So PJ, looks like we're on the same pick here. Why we are. Like the Lions?
Yeah, I like the Lions too. I mean, obviously now with the Hopkins news that he's being traded to Kansas City, losing a weapon there at wide receiver. I am a little bit worried that this could be a letdown spot with Detroit. They're coming off 2 big games against Dallas and Minnesota. They got Green Bay next week. So this could be a sandwich spot. We know how well that favorites and the public has been doing the last 2 weeks in the NFL. I think Tennessee can cover the spread, but I don't think they win this game outright. So I'm rolling with the Lions this week as well in Survivor, but I do think Tennessee's got a chance to cover the game.
No, have you seen Tennessee in the second half? Like, that's my question. And that's why I like going against Tennessee in Survivor, because their offense falls off a cliff in the second half of things. And this is a trend that we have seen over the past few years. So I don't know if it's on the coaching, because usually that means, like, you're not making any type of adjustments. Like, you have your game plan, you let it ride, and then the other defense is like, they're doing this. Let's make them one-dimensional. And then the Titans don't score any points in the second half, like we saw against the Bills. Because early on, that was actually a game. I thought to myself, here we go. The old Titans team is back. We're going to contend with some of these best teams in the NFL. And then the second half rolled around. I was like, oh, here we go. 0 points in the second half. So I feel very confident in the Lions this week.
Yeah, I like the Lions as well. It feels like on paper this is one of the easier Survivor weeks of the year. Like there are a ton of big spreads on the board.
Yeah.
Nobody gave out the Ravens against the Browns. I think the Ravens win the game, but that line opened at 11.5 after the Monday night game, and some group came in and absolutely jammed the Browns all the way down to 9. Obviously, Jameis is the starter, so you got to like the Browns a lot better than with him, than with Watson. And, it's a divisional matchup on the road, and I can tell you as a Ravens fan, I know how these games go when the Ravens go to Cleveland, and they're always ugly and sloppy and low scoring. The Ravens are due for an offensive dud at some point with the way that they've been rolling, so I think Cleveland could keep that game closer than people think. The Jets are probably going to be popular this week. Look, the Patriots are obviously one of the worst teams in football, but it just feels like we all wait for the Jets to turn the other page, and it just never happens. So nobody picked that game, rightfully so. Other than the Lions, Chelsea, I was considering the Chargers this week against the Saints. It just feels like after the first 2 weeks, the Saints have kind of turned into the team that a lot of people thought this season, that a lot of people thought they would be. So many injuries. Now, they obviously have the advantage of playing on a Thursday against Denver, and the Chargers have the short week against a Monday, but it feels like the Chargers have beaten every team this season that they're, supposed to beat. It's the games where they're underdogs or it's a close spread that they lose, but when they're favorites, they've been winning these games the coaching mismatch in this game with Harbaugh versus Dennis Allen is just night and day. So if it weren't for the Lions, I think I'd actually look at the Chargers this week against the Saints.
Okay, we have 30 seconds left. This is when I try to stir the pot and try to turn the team against each other. Gentlemen, is there any pick in here that could be a loser? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I think we've got a good week.
Yeah,
right?
I'll go outside. Lucy's taking Tampa Bay over Atlanta. I worry about that pick because Tampa Bay, who's going to play wide receiver for them this week? They've lost everybody. That's my only concern there. I think everybody else, outside of my own pick, which I'm not completely confident in, I think everybody else is on winners. So
yeah, I was going to say Houston would be the only game that gives me concern just because we did see the Colts play them in week 1. That was a 2-point game. As Bill said, he usually doesn't take divisional games, and we all know that in the NFL divisional games, anything can happen. And Houston's a good team. They're 5-2, but all of their wins have been by 1 score. So it's not like they're blowing people out. It's tough to beat a team 2 times. That's the one game that gives me concern. I do think they win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Indy keeps that close.
Yeah, and I feel like we're probably due for some chaos in the NFL. It feels like, what was it, last week and maybe the week before? Favorites made a resurgence. But early in the year, we saw this. Big favorites were absolutely terrible. The reason I can't use the Ravens this week is because I already used them this week, or used them this year, and they lost to the Raiders.